Most people think you need coding skills to build AI automations and workflows, but here's the thing, you can build your first automation in under 10 minutes without writing a single line of code. Because the most powerful automations are actually stupidly simple that give you time back from doing boring work like updating CRMs and Excel sheets. So, in today's video, we're going to be looking at an example using just Google Sheets, Gmail, and this no code platform called Make.com. And in this example, say a customer fills out a Google form or a form on your website, which would send that data to an Excel sheet. We're going to use that data to send an automated email response to the customer. So I'm going to show you how all of that works. And without further ado, let's jump right in. So in this video, what we are building is when a new row is added to a Google Sheet spreadsheet, we want to take that data, format it, and send an email notification back to our customer. And so the apps we'll be using are Google Sheets, Gmail, and this no code automation tool called Make.com. You can sign up to their you can sign up to their free plan and get 1000 credits each month, or you can hop into our Skool community wherein you also get free access to their highest plan for a year, which is worth more than $300. So the link for that will be in the description. So you can hop into the Skool community. It's called AI Automation Masterclass, and then you can just DM me once you're inside there saying you'd like free access to the make.com annual plan. Anyway, coming back to video is, so yeah, inside there you'll also find these step-by-step instructions of what we're building. So first we've got to set up a Google Sheet. So if you go into your Google Drive, just say create a folder and a file. I've named it demo1. Inside there, if we come back to our instructions, we're going to add these columns. So you're going to have a name, email, message, and date, as well as add one sample row of data for testing. So that's exactly what I've done: name, email, message, date, add one sample row of testing. And now if I come back to our instructions, now we're going to create our first scenario or automation in Make. So if you come to Make and you sign in or sign up, if you haven't created an account, you can do so. It's completely free. Just go to make.com. You can use either your email or sign in with Google, which is what I've done. And once you're in there, you will see this dashboard kind of interface. So inside here, what you want to do is you want to come down to the scenarios tab, which is basically a list of all your automations. I've built a few out before, but for this video, we're going to be building one completely from scratch. So if I come up here and click this create scenario button, which if we go back to our instructions, so it says click create a new scenario, you'll see an empty canvas with a plus button. And now here, so this is the canvas we see, this is the plus button. This is where like all our automations are going to begin. We choose an app that we want to use. In this case, we're using Google Sheets, so I select Google Sheets. As per our instructions, we've got to select watch new rows. This is kind of an event. This basically tells the Google Sheet that, hey, I'm listening for, or I'm watching whenever a new row is added to the sheet. I want to be notified about it basically. So that's where, like, next up we're going to connect the Google Sheet to Make. But for now, so we've got to just set up this trigger, as it's called. So we set up this trigger to watch new rows, and then we're going to create a connection to our Google account, authorize it, and configure the module. So let me show you how to do that. So here, if I come in to the canvas, we selected Google Sheets, click watch new rows. Now here you're going to have to choose your connection. This is connected to your Google account. So in this case, I will select my Google account. If you hadn't done so before, you can just come and click add, click sign in with Google. It's going to show you this OAuth pop-up. You can just choose your account and that's it. You'll be good to go. So if I just check this module again, okay, I choose my Google account, leave the search by method as is. Google Drive, My Drive, spreadsheet ID is where you come in and now select the actual spreadsheet you're going to be using. So mine was in this folder and it was called demo1. So I select that here. The sheet name was sheet 1. Does the table contain headers? Yes, we have like the first row in our table has headers, which is basically this, the name, email, message, date. If I come back to our automations, table contains headers, and we set the limit to 1. We click save, click on all, and say save. And another thing that's a good practice to do here is to save your automations or workflows or scenarios often. So here you see this like floppy disk icon. You click on save, and yeah, the scenario is saved. We're good to go. So now that we've set up our Google Sheets, so if I come back to our instructions, we've set up our Google Sheets trigger. We've connected it to Make, and now what we want to do is we want to take this data as it comes in, format it, and then send an email out. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to click the small circle to the right of the Google Sheets module, search for Gmail, and click send an email, configure our account. So I'm going to walk you through this now step by step. You come here, click on add another module, go to Gmail, click send an email. So if you scroll through, send an email. Similarly, we've just got to set up our accounts. Here I've got mine set up already. If you didn't, you can just click on add your Google account. It will show you the same OAuth pop-up. You choose your account and you're good to go, the same way we did for the Google Sheets module. Now, to who do we want this email to go to? So now when you click inside here, you're going to see that your Google Sheet has been connected, and you can see all of the data coming in. So who does this email go out to? We want it to go to this email. So you can just drag and drop it from here and it will automatically get the value. So in this case, what that means is um, from our sheet, the email that's here for each row, in this case, it's edri.automates@gmail.com. That's the value it's going to use. Similarly, for the subject, to have, say, a personalized subject line, we may have something like, hey, first name. So if I drag the name column in, based on our Google Sheet, I'm going to have, hey, Adrian, thank you for filling out our form. Perfect. For the content, you can choose to how you format the content, but inside our Skool community, inside these instructions, I have a template here for you as well. You can just copy this across and paste it in here. If you're wondering what these BR tags are, as they're called, if you have a coding background, you may know what they are. Not that you need to know what they are. They're basically just new lines. So if you want an enter character, basically if you want a new line entered, you would enter a BR. So here I've pasted this in. We've just got to replace here where it says insert name from Google Sheets. We're going to delete that and we're going to drag the name in. Then what we are going to do is insert email. So for the email, we're going to drag in the email field. For message, we're going to drag in the message field, and for the date we are going to drag in the date field. Perfect. And then best regards, you can enter your name or company. I'm just going to enter my name here. I'm going to save this module and we are good to go. So again, best practice, save modules, save automations as often as possible. So I'm just going to click save. This is saved. Now this scenario is ready to run. There are two types of ways you can run it. You can schedule it. There's a scheduling option. We'll talk about scheduling later, but basically if you want this automation to run every 15 minutes and check if there are any new rows added, you can schedule it. You can do it once every day of the week. It's very configurable, and that's one option you have. But for this video, we're just going to keep it simple and have this automation run once. So now if I click run, you will see that this automation has run, that it found one new record. And if I click on this record, it says, okay, so now this is actually a very interesting thing that happened is it's only watching for new rows. And because this automation already had data, it's not picked up on any new rows. But if I paste this again, Okay. And if I come back to our automation and now click run once, it's going to find this new row, and you can see the Gmail trigger has also run. So if I click in here to see what data it got, it's got my name, my email, the message, the date, and the row number is 3, which is basically the new row we added, because this email trigger and automation is watching for new rows. So basically it avoids duplication, and so if you ran this automation again, it's not going to email all the records you already had in your Excel sheet. It's only going to look for the new ones and email those. And so if I come back to my automation, I can see this is all the data that it got. And if I come in here and check my Gmail module, you can see all the data we've received. If I click on the two, you can see who it's sent to. You can see the content. So the subject, it shows, "Hey, Adrian," because it's taken the value from the Google Sheet and plugged it in here. "Thank you for filling out our form." And if we check the output, this is what was sent. So even if I check content, here I will see the full email. "Hello, we received a new submission. This is the name, email, message, and stuff." So if I check my inbox now, can you see that I've got this new email that says, "Hello, team." I mean, ideally you can change that. That's just what's in the template, but you could have replaced that with the user's name. "We received a new submission. This is the name, email, message, date, and best regards, Adrian." So that was it for this video. Stupidly simple, just shows you how to get your first automation up and running using Make, Gmail, and Google Sheets. In the next video, we're going to see how we can use AI and intelligence to actually take the data we receive from a form, personalize it, and then send an email out. So yeah, that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Most people think to build automations like these, you either need to be a coder or you have to hire one and pay for expensive softwares on top of that. But let me tell you, that's just not true. In fact, I built this entire AI workflow to get a lead using Google Forms, ChatGPT to analyze it, Claude to personalize the response, and Gmail to send an email out to that lead using $5 of AI credits and free apps without writing a single line of code. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to build the entire thing out step by step from scratch. The instruction doc I'm going to be referring to throughout this video is inside our free Skool community. The link is in the description. And yeah, let's start building this out. So step one, I'm going to go to Google Forms. I'm going to select a blank form. So here we're going to name it lead qualification form. I'm just going to call this demo 2 lead qualification form. Then we're going to add in a name, email, company. So you have a name, email, and company. We also have budget, project description, and timeline. So if I copy this across, so we have budget. Okay, so that's our budget, project description, and timeline. And okay, and now that we've got the Google form ready, let's move to step 2, which is where we're going to create our make scenario. So once your Google form is done, you can come in here, click on manage, make sure that anyone with the link can view and submit a Google form. Just click done, make sure the accepting responses is on, save, and you are good to go. And the link for your Google form can be found here. You can just copy this entire link. You can also shorten the URL and copy it, and that's about it. Your Google form is ready. Oh, and by the way, in your Google form, one thing I forgot to mention is you need to link this Google form to Google Sheets. So if you come under responses, you will see a link to Sheets button. And once you click on it, it will automatically create a new Google Sheet with all of the columns we have in our Google form. And if you come back in here, it will now show as view in sheets. So if we go back to step 2, where we're now creating a new make scenario, I come up here, create scenario. I will name this scenario demo 2 AI lead qualification system. Perfect. Okay, and now onto step 3, where I've got to add a Google Forms trigger. I'm going to come into my make automation. I'm going to add Google Forms. Google Forms, watch responses. If I come back here, connect your Google account, select your lead qualification form, and set the limit to 1. So here you're going to create your connection. You can do it by choosing an existing one, or you can add a new one. This is pretty much straightforward. You just click the add button, click on sign in with Google. It will take you to the OAuth screen where you can choose an account, and yeah, then you'll be good to go. And now that we have the connection set up for the form ID, what we want to do is you want to come in and click search, say show drive forms. Yes, click OK. It's going to pop up the list of forms you have. Ours was demo 2 lead qualification form. You set the limit to 1. Click save. From now on, all you can choose all. Click save, and yeah, save the workflow, and our Google Forms trigger is set up. Our next job is to add our OpenAI ChatGPT model. But before doing that, what we've got to do is create an API key. So all you've got to do is go to platform.openai.com. You want to come into your projects. If you haven't created one before, you just click on create project, enter a project name, click on create. Once that's done, if you click on dashboard here at the top, you can come down to a list of your API keys. So currently you will see you don't have one. So you click on create new secret API key, name it whatever you'd like. So I'm going to call this demo make API key. Click create secret key. Now this key is one that you have to copy because you cannot view it again. So you're going to copy this key, and then when we come into make.com, we're going to click on add a new module. We're going to come into OpenAI. We're going to choose create a completion prompt. You're going to come into the module. You're going to choose your connection. If you haven't done it before, you can always just click on add. It's going to ask you for a connection name and the API key. This is where you would paste your API key in, click save, and you should be good to go. So once you have your API key set up, you will also need to add credits to your account. So how you do that is you go to your profile, under billing, you will be able to see what your balance is. If you have currently $0, you can add to your credit balance. I think the minimum amount is $5. So anything upward of that you can do. You can set auto recharge to off, so that it doesn't automatically charge your card when your credit balance goes down. If you were using this in a production environment, you'd probably leave it on. You can also set usage limits like this and add alerts. So at what percentage would you want to be alerted to, and which email would you like an alert to go out? So currently I have alerts set up for 75%, 90%, and 100%. So I would be notified by email. But that's all that you kind of need to know. The main thing you actually need to do is just set up a credit balance. Anywhere between $5 to $10 is more than sufficient while we are learning here. And yeah, and with that, our OpenAI account is now completely set up. So once you have your OpenAI connection set up with your API key, you're going to select a method, create a chat completion. What model are we going to use? So if you come in here, you can use the GPT 3.5 Turbo model. So if we look for that, GPT 3.5 Turbo, and then we can add our messages. So the messages here, there are going to be two types that we use. We're going to use system prompts. This is going to be, say, chat GPT's role, and we're going to use user prompts, which is what we want out of the AI model. So just to give you a quick brief on system prompts, assistant prompts, and user prompts. So system prompts set the overall context, role, and behavior for the AI. So what they do is they establish the ground rules, personality, or specific capabilities. They usually appear at the beginning of the conversation. So when you just start prompting AI, what you want to start with is a system prompt, which is something like you are a helpful coding assistant or you are a creative writing tutor who provides constructive feedback. And the more detailed the prompts are, the better the response you're going to get from these AI models. So the assistant prompts are usually what the AI's response is to a user's question, and it's basically the output of what the model generates. And so the user's prompt is, what does the user want? What do you or I want from the AI? And these are the messages or inputs sent by the human. They contain questions, requests, instructions, or information the user wants the AI to respond to. So that's just a quick summary on system, assistant, and user prompts. So now that we've got our OpenAI ChatGPT connection set up, we've selected the method create a chat completion. We've chosen the model as 3.5 turbo because it's fast and cheap, so it gives you quick results. And now we're going to add messages in here. So for our first message, we're going to enter the developer or system role, which is going to be the role of the AI. You can copy this from here, come back in and paste it, and below that you can click add another message. This is going to be for the user's message. This is the prompt that we need to give AI. So this, we're going to select the user role. For the context, I'm going to paste that in, but I'm going to remove the name and enter the name field, the company and enter the company field, remove the budget, add the budget field. Same for project description and for the timeline. Perfect. We hit save, and once this model is saved, yep, we can check that we have all our data in here. This module is set up. And now in this example, the next step is to set up our Claude API key. This is just to demonstrate how we use different AI models in action. So before we set up the next Claude module, we just want to make sure that our automation is working as expected. So if I come in here and I check my Google Forms and this OpenAI model and I click on run once, currently we have no submissions. So this indication, like, it doesn't indicate that it's found any new rows. It just means that it's checked Google Forms for any new responses, and there are none. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into our form, which you can get the link by clicking on this copy responder link and just hit copy. And if you paste it in a new tab, you'll see it. So we'll just fill this form out. For the description, we may enter something like, I need to build an AI automation system for lead analysis, and say our timeline was 1 to 3 months. And now when we click on submit, so first we should see our row added to our Google Sheet. So if I come into my Google Sheet here, as you can see, all of the data has come through. So we can see the name, the email, the company, the budget, project description, and timeline. And now if we go back to our make automation and we run this, it's got a new row and it's also passed that data on to ChatGPT. So here when we check, if I look at the answers field, under, so say name, it's going to have the answers here, the timeline, the email, and basically you get the gist of it, but all of the values are here. Now one very interesting thing to note is, if you saw earlier when we were setting up this model, when we came in here, we chose these values for our text content. We chose name, company, budget, project description, and timeline, everything that you would expect to be plugged in from our Google form. But what ends up happening is, if we check the response, and more importantly when we check the messages, so the first message was the one we sent the system, right? This was just configured. But the second message, if we look at the entire body of what was sent, when we clicked on analyze this lead name, and we wanted it actually to just have the value of the name, but can you see it has this like all this additional text around it, which basically comes from the Google form, because the form in its response under answers, say for name, it actually has this text answers object. Inside that, it has answers, which is an array. Inside that, it has an object, and that object's value is Adrian. Like, even if you don't know what arrays are, collections, values, all of that, which I will create a separate video about, or which is in the AI fundamentals inside the Skool community. But basically, this means that the name field doesn't just contain the string value or the actual value of what we've entered, it contains this more complex structure. So, what we actually need to make a small change in our OpenAI model is here for our name. What we actually need to pass in when we are choosing it is the name. But if we click into this drop down, now we see this text answers field, answers and value. So what that is the actual value we need. Same for the company. We come into company, we click text answers, answers, value. Same for budget. So we come into budget, text answers, answers, value. And for project description, same process. And lastly for timeline. Okay, so now if we save this and we save even our automation, now if I was to enter another response, the budget, the description, I'm just going to copy from here, just going to change it a bit and choose the timeline. And now if I submit this and I come back to my automation and then run it, it will find the new row, run the OpenAI response. This output of this model, if I check under the answers tab, is going to be exactly the same. Like, it's going to have the same structure, right? So inside the answers, the company, the text answers, answers array, and then the object. But now what you will notice is in the OpenAI model here, if we check what the input is for the messages, the first message is the same. It's the one we sent the system, giving it its role. But the second message inside this content, can you see now how clean our data object or our content looks? The name has the exact name, company, the exact company, budget, project, and so on. And so now we've given it this provide lead score, qualification level, and key insights. And if we check the output of this, it gives you your lead score, qualification level, hot, and the key insights about this lead. So this is a key mistake to avoid, is when working with Google Forms, what we want to do is run the model at least once so that we get that text answers array, and then inside that we drill down to the actual value we're looking for. When setting it up the first time, it won't show you that until you've run the model once. So just do that, make a submission, and then come in and update these values. Next, we are going to set up our Claude API key. So to do so, we're going to go to console.anthropic.com. If you're not logged in, you can just log in using your same Google account. In here, you will come under API keys, similar to how we had done for OpenAI and ChatGPT. You just come in here, create a key, give it a name. So say I wanted to name this demo key. I would just add it. It would give you this key. You can copy it. You need to save it in a safe place because you can't view it again. So copy this key, save it, and we will use it to set up our automation. You can close out of this screen. If you come into billing, this is where we will add credits, similar how we did with OpenAI. You can add just $5. That's more than sufficient. And if you come under limits, this shows you rate limits. We don't need this. We just need to make sure our spend limits are set up. So I think by default, it's $100 each month. You can change this as you'd like, and also add email notification at what levels you'd want to be notified about usage. But yeah, that's it for setting up API keys, billing, and limits with Claude. And now we're going to use this Claude API key in our make.com automation. So next up, we're going to set up our Claude model inside make.com. So if we come back into make, add another module, we choose Claude, create a prompt. We're going to add a new connection. When you click on add, it's going to ask you for a connection name and your API key, which we copied from the previous section. So we're going to come in here, paste our API key and click save, and we should be good to go. Then I already have mine set up. So once that's done, you will see a list of models. So here we're going to choose the Claude Haiku 3.5 model. Again, we can enter max tokens as 500. For the messages, if we come back here, I'm going to copy across this system message where it says you are a sales psychology expert, and as I analyze this lead's communication style and recommend the best approach for engagement. So if I come back in here to my make automation, so I'm going to add message here. I'm going to choose the assistant role, which is the same like the system role in OpenAI's ChatGPT. I'm going to paste this content in, click save, and then if I come back to my instructions, I'm going to give it this lead information, and this is the user message or prompt that we are going to use. So we're going to give it the lead information. We're going to include the name, project description, as well as the ChatGPT analysis. And then what we're going to do is we just give Claude some direction saying, I need you to think of what the best values for these parameters will be. So communication style assessment, recommended engagement approach, and say suggested email tone. And in your final response, please only include the email body of what I need to send this potential client. So back in my Claude model, we have the assistant message set up. We're also going to set one up for the user, and for the content, we're going to choose type text and enter this value in. So we're going to replace the lead information name with the name text answers value. For the project description, same way. And for the ChatGPT analysis, we will enter the result and then we indicate to Claude what we want the parameters to be. And in your final response, we indicate that we only want the email body. So I'm going to click save. I'm going to click save again. And now if we run this model, so I'm going to submit another form, enter the name, email, company, budget, project description, and we indicate the timeline. So if we click submit, come back to automation and click run once, you can see the Claude model is running, and there, it's done. So if we check our forms as expected, we will see the name, company, all of these details as usual. If we come into our OpenAI model, we will see our response. So it indicates a lead score, qualification level, key insights. And now if we check our Claude model and the outputs of this node, so in our inputs first, if we see our messages, the first message is the assistant message that we provided, and the second one is the user prompt with all of our information. So it passes on all the information perfectly, the name, the project description, and all of this content about the lead. And what we ask it for is the final email body. So in the output, if we check the content, the type, the text, and this is the analysis and recommendation. So it gives us this entire body that we can use in our email, and that's what we're going to set up in the next section. And now, last but not least, we're going to send out our personalized email response. So to do that, we're going to come back to our demo. We're going to set up a new module. We're going to set up Gmail, send an email, and we're going to configure this thing. So by now you usually have your connection set up. If you haven't done so, if you have done so, you can just choose it from this list. If you haven't, you can click add. It will show you the standard Google login screen, and you can use that to sign in. So for the email that we want to be sending this to, so we're going to choose that from the email that the user had entered in their form. So this is the email that it's going to go through. For the subject, we are going to say, thanks for your interest, followed by the person's name. So we're going to replace the form name with the actual value. And then for the content, we will copy this template. We're going to replace the form name with the name, the description with the project description, the budget, the timeline. And now here we are going to include Claude's response. So the response we get from Claude, this is just a demonstration purpose. So the actual response from Claude may vary. In later videos, we'll talk about how to refine this, but this is just an example. Like basically your job here is to prompt the AI model in such a way that it gives you a very specific response. And so in some scenarios, what you may want to do is, rather than sending this email as an automation directly to the client, because AIs can always make mistakes, what you may have this do is add this data to a Google sheet so that you can proofread it and then just copy that across and then paste it and send it through your normal Gmail. That's one way of doing it. There are a bunch of ways, but basically for this demonstration, it's mainly about seeing how do we take an AI personalized response, which Claude will give us. The output of that is always going to be dependent on the prompts we use. We've just included a very simple prompt, and so yeah, that is the purpose for this video. So we're going to come back here, we're going to change that to say your name, and then a PS saying you'll be in touch within 24 hours. So once we have that all set up, we're going to click save. And now our module, we're going to save our automation, and now our automation is ready to run. We're going to come back here, submit another response. So I'm going to enter my name, say this was my project description, and my timeline. So now if I click submit, we will see that this row has been added to our Google Sheet. And if we come into our make.com automation and we click run once, we find the row. It's got the GPT output. Now it's running through Claude. We've got the output and we've got the email. So if I come in and check my inbox, if this will only load, and there we can see the response. Now this has not been formatted, so I will do that now. So if we come back to our email, what we need to do for formatting is use break tags. So what I'm going to do is, these are basically just new line characters to properly space out content. And so that is what we are going to do and save this. So we will just run this quickly again. Enter a budget, project description, and choose a timeline. Okay, submitted. We come back into make, run this. We see it got a new row. The GPT model ran. The Claude model is currently running. That is done, and the email has been sent. So here, if we come in, we can see we have a new email. So here, so it shows you, hi, thank you, hi, Raises, based on our form inputs. Thank you for reaching out about, this is the project name. Then the project description, this is our project scope, the budget, the timeline. And then this response is basically everything that we've entered with that the Claude model gave us. This output, like I mentioned, may not always be perfect, so it needs a refinement, and that refinement comes with your prompting experience. And then it ends with best regards, Adrian. I forgot to put a break statement in there for the formatting, but you just put a break statement and then have your PS saying, I'll be in touch within the next 24 hours to discuss the project in further detail. So that is basically how we set up an end-to-end automation in make.com using Google Forms, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gmail. The main purpose of this was to show you how we can use smarts or intelligence and add AI models to these workflows so that we can get more personalized responses. Now, obviously, the output of these AI models may not always be perfect. So one very important thing to know is that to prompt well using the clear framework, and once we have prompted correctly and we're sure of the output, even then sending out an automated email to a customer may not always be the best idea. And so, a better way of doing it might be to just add this response to a Google Sheet so that you can proofread it before manually sending it out, or building an automation to send it out. So, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a simple AI automation that takes a list of email customers inside Google Sheets, uses ChatGPT to analyze it, and then send out highly personalized emails based on their purchase history. And we're going to do this using these simple Google Sheets, ChatGPT, and Gmail built on make.com. And Make is a no-code automation tool. You can get access to their highest paid plan for free inside our Skool community. The link is in the description. And without further ado, let's jump right in. So let's get started. We're going to create a new Google Sheet and call it customer email list. You can give it any name you'd like, but mainly we're going to add these column headers of email, first name, last purchase, purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this data filled in, and we're going to use AI to predict which of these segments do they fall in. Are they tech enthusiasts, budget conscious, premium buyers, or inactive users? And so we're going to create this Google Sheet. We're going to add sample rows to it. And let me do that right now. So we've got our first row with the headers, and this is all of our data. One cool thing to know here is you can use this plus tech or plus any word basically, and this will still deliver emails to the same original email. So in my case, now I have this adri.automates@gmail.com, but if I add a plus tech, plus budget, plus any word after my original email, but before the at the rate sign, it will still get delivered to the original email. Okay, so with that being said, and let us come back to our instructions, and we're going to create a new scenario with this iterator concept, which is the main concept we're going to learn as to how do we go through each row from our Google Sheets, not just one at a time, but even if we had bulk data, how to go through all of it simultaneously and then run that through our automation. So next up, we're going to select and add a Google Sheets trigger. So if I come into my Google Sheets, I have this Google Sheet set up with the columns, email, first name, and all of the data. And now we're going to add that to our make automation. So if I come in here, I select the Google Sheets module. I choose my account connection, select from my drive, and the spreadsheet ID is demo3. The sheet name is sheet 1. Table contains headers, yes. And now what we are going to do is set the limit to 10 and save this module. Okay, so we have that set up. So next up, we're going to set up our iterator, and this is going to go through each record in our sheet line by line. So if I come in here, go to next module, add an iterator, and in this array, we're basically just going to select all the values we need. So we're going to have an email followed by the first name, last purchase history, last purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior. We're going to click save, and now if we quickly save this, it gives us this warning, but we can save it anyway, and we will run it anyway. And now can you see that our Google Sheets has run? Okay, we have this output of all this data. You can see the first row, the second row, the third row, the fourth row. And in our iterator, if we check the output, you can see operation 1 has all of this data, operation 2 has this data, operation 3 this data, and operation 4 has all of this data. So we can obviously format it actually and make it look a little better. So for example, maybe we format it like this: email, first name, last purchase, purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior. Okay, and now if we click save and just run this again. Okay, so now if I come in here and check, you can see that all of our data from the Google Sheet has been split row by row, and the data is formatted and looks a lot cleaner. So that's what we can see here. We have our first row, second row, third row, and fourth row. Beautiful. Next up, we are going to set up our ChatGPT AI analysis module. So if I come in here and I choose ChatGPT OpenAI creator completion, we will set this up with our OpenAI connection, which we've done before. We're going to, if you haven't done it, you can add a new credential by just entering a name and your API key, and that is it. So we choose the model. So we're going to choose the 3.5 turbo. Max completion tokens, you can set that to 500. And now we're going to add our prompt. So if I come back in here, we're going to choose our system prompt. This is the role we're going to assign the AI. So that's what it's going to do. We're basically telling it that you are a customer segmentation expert. Analyze this customer data and assign one segment: tech enthusiast, budget conscious, premium buyer, or inactive user. And then for the message, which is going to be the user prompt, we're going to copy this across. We're going to select the user role, and for text content, we're going to replace these values. So for the customer, we're going to give it the first name. For last purchase, drag that in. Purchase history, you can also just click on it. Support tickets and website behavior. Okay, and then we give it the prompt: respond with only segment and the segment name, reason, and priority. So we save that, we save our workflow, and with that we have now our OpenAI model set up. And now next up, we're going to add our text processing, which is a new concept we haven't done here before. So we're going to come into tools, add a text parser, and use the match pattern. So if I come in here, I add text parser, we're going to say match pattern. And for the pattern, we're going to copy this across. And okay, so basically what this is going to do, and I will show you in a second, is if you remember in our last AI prompt here, when the AI responds with this: a segment, a reason, and a priority, basically what our next model is doing is it looks for this pattern. Where does it find segment with a colon after it? And what it finds is what it's going to grab and basically like save it in a variable for us to use. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But this is like a regular expression pattern that it uses. You don't have to know what regular expressions are, but basically this is how the node identifies what we're going to be extracting from our AI's response, saving it, and then processing it in a subsequent module. So now if I come in here and I add a new module and I use the set variable, I call this, let's give it a name. So say we are using the segment, and the value of this is going to be the value that comes from our text parser. I'm just going to save this and quickly run this model, this automation, to show you how that works. So to show you how this automation works, we're going to run it quickly. So we have our Google Sheets, which had 4 records in it. So our Google Sheet, if we check here, this was our input and our output of all the rows. If we check our iterator has each of the 4 rows in here. Okay, our chat GPT model ran. So for each of them, so for the first row, what if we look at the messages, this was the input. So we gave it our system input along with some context. We then gave it the customer data. And now if we look at the response, so the response for the first row is that its prediction is that this customer John, is a tech enthusiast, because actually if you see, his last purchase was a software license, and his support tickets are technical integration questions. They also give you the reason here, because that's what we asked the AI for, right? We asked it for a segment, a reason, and a priority. So the reason is John's purchase history, support tickets, and frequent visits to documentation indicate a strong interest in technology and software development. Beautiful. If we check it for the second row, the second, Sarah's purchase history, indicates, if we look at the response actually, yeah, purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior indicate a focus on budget friendly options and seeking discounts. Because if in the messages, you remember from the data we had in our Excel sheet, for Sarah, it's budget friendly. She usually asks about discount questions and looks for discounts on the website. So again, the AI has done a fantastic job of predicting that this customer is likely budget conscious. The third would be a premium buyer, because again, from our data in the Excel sheet, we can see that Lisa has last bought the premium plan. She looks for more exclusive offers in her support tickets and just attends webinars probably about them. So again, the AI got that right. And lastly, if we look at Nina's, it is, she asks quarterly billing, frequent access to integration guides, strong interest in technology and automation. So that's why Nina has also been labeled as a tech enthusiast. So now basically what happens is we have these variables and this segmentation done of each customer email, and we know what type of customer they are. So what we may end up doing, which is the rest of this tutorial that we're working on, is now we're going to next add a text parser, which we've just completed. And now we're going to next add an aggregator. So we're going to combine all this data back together. We're going to structure the response as an email, name, segment, and priority. And then what we are eventually going to do is add conditional logic with a router, and based on what type of customer they were, whether tech enthusiast, budget conscious, premium buyer, or inactive, we're going to send specific emails out to them. So for a tech enthusiast, we might send an email like, these are new features you love. For a budget conscious customer, we may send them special discounts. For a premium buyer, we may send them exclusive premium features. And for an inactive user, we might send them some sort of reactivation campaign or reactivation email to bring them back into our system. Okay, so now that we've learned how to use the text parser to basically take any output from, say, ChatGPT or an AI model, and then, say, extract some information out of it, and then save that in a variable, what we now want to do is, I just want to introduce you to this concept of an aggregator. And what an aggregator does is it's like the reverse of an iterator. So where an iterator splits out data, and from bulk data you go to line by line data, an aggregator joins them back together. So if we come back to our instructions now here, an aggregator will basically, like, if we want this target structure of just the name, email, and segment in one kind of data object, we'd use an aggregator to do that. And so if we come back into make And this is a completely optional module here, but I just want to introduce you to the concept of what an aggregator is. So if I come into the aggregator module, I'm going to choose the source module as our last module here, the set variable. And then I'm going to choose what fields I want. So first I want the set variable segment that we extracted. Then I want the name and the email. So I'm going to come down to name, email, hit save, save. And yep. So now if I was to run this automation, and one thing that I may have forgotten to save or update in this is for the text parser, you have to include the result from the GPT output here. Click save, save, and run this automation. Okay, and now we can see the data flowing through. So here, if we come into our output of the GPT module, you can see that our output contains the segment, reason, priority. If we come into the text parser, it also shows the segment, reason, and priority. And here in our set variable, it shows the segment, the what is being set, the tech enthusiast. And now if we come to our aggregator, we will see that it contains the email, the name, and the segment. Okay, and now if we come back to our instructions, we're next going to add an iterator to process this grouped data and use conditional logic using a router and accordingly send out emails. So the purpose of this is to teach you how to use a router and to have conditional logic. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at each row of our data, and based on what the AI classified each customer as. So if they're a tech enthusiast, we're going to send them one type of email. If they're budget conscious, we're going to send them a second type, premium buyer third type, and if they're an inactive user, the fourth type. So let's jump right in and set that up. So if we come back to our automation, so first we're going to add a router. First we have to add an iterator and then a router. So if we come back in here, add new module like iterator, the array is going to be the array from what we just grouped. We will then introduce a router. We will add 4 routes, one for each of the types of emails we had. So and then you come in here, click on this banner icon, click on set up a filter. You can label it. You can set a fallback condition. This is like a fallback route, as they mentioned, is a backup route that is used if the source data didn't go through any other route. And each router can only have one fallback route. So here we will come in and we will set the condition that if the segment from our array, this is the India. So what we will do is we will choose that if the segment coming out of our iterator is equal to tech enthusiast, we are going to send them one type of email. So that's what we're going to set up. So if I come in here, Gmail, send an email, to whom do we want it to go to, that we're going to set up here. So that's going to be email. The subject is going to be hey, first name. Okay, so the subject is going to be here. We have it in here. We're going to come in and replace the name with first name, and the content we're going to be like hi, first name. So here you can also include your break tags to make sure that it's neatly formatted. And the technical content, you can basically make it whatever you want to include. Or if you wanted, you could probably include another AI module to generate that technical content, or it can just be static content, because at the end of the day, this email is just informing tech enthusiasts about new features you think they'd like. So we are going to come in and save this. And if I click save, that is set up. Next, we're going to set up the filter for our budget conscious. For the condition, it's going to be the segment is equal to budget conscious. For the third, it's going to be segment is equal to premium buyer. And for the fourth, it's going to be for segment is equal to inactive user, and save. And now we are going to set up the Gmail modules. So to you add the email subject is going to be this. Same for the third. And lastly for the fourth. And this is how like you can use such simple automations to set up like a segmented and highly personalized email as well, because you're using information you have about them, you're including their names in these subjects, and it just speeds up the whole process. So yeah, and so now we set up the fourth email. We enter the email, the subject, the content, and save. Just make sure we have all the right values in there. Oops, here we have email name instead of email, so that is set. Email, and done. Beautiful. We will save this automation. And now what we will do is save and run this automation. So can you see the first one went here, the second one went here, the third one went here, and the fourth one went here. So if you look at these counters here, you can see the 2 1 1. So if we just zoom back, so if you zoom back out, so if we come back to first our Excel sheet process the data, we got each row. Then as bulk data, then we used an iterator to split that data out into single rows. Then we used ChatGPT to make predictions about what type of customer, what customer segment we think that is, and also give us a reason. We use the text parser to extract specific data out of the response using regular expressions. Then we used a set variable field to set that segment value. We used an array aggregator to group that data back together. And then we used an iterator to process it out line by line. And if you're probably wondering, yes, you could have probably skipped these two modules here because we already had an iterator and the data was being processed individually. But the purpose of including these here was just to show you the concept of what an aggregator does. So then we set up the aggregator followed by an iterator to split that data back out and just ensure we're processing it row by row. We added a router after that, which is our conditional logic. We set up our filters saying if the segment is a tech enthusiast. So can you see for the first row, it marked it as true. The second, it was false. Third, false. And fourth, true. And so this email would have gotten sent out. Now, if we come over to my inbox, can you see we have 4 new emails? So 2 were for the tech enthusiasts for John and the technical content. This was the special savings for Sarah. I think we didn't include the name parameter in these, which we need to update. So if I come back real quick to this automation here, we forgot to update the name. Hit save, and here as well. So just to summarize everything we learned here, we learned a lot. First, we learned how to use Google Sheets to have bulk data come through, split that bulk data out and analyze it row by row. That's what we use the iterator for. Then we added intelligence with ChatGPT to make like predictions on what type of customer we think that is. We used a text parser to extract specific results we want from the GPT response. We used a set variable node to set that variable into a particular variable name. Then we used an array aggregator to combine all of that data back together. And here, if you're probably wondering, we are combining data back with an aggregator and then splitting it back out using an iterator. Could we have skipped this step? Absolutely. But the point of introducing the aggregator was so that you know how to combine data back together and you can refine your data objects and have like a cleaner response. So that's what we use the aggregator for. Then we split that data back out again using an iterator so that we process it row by row. We added a router after it to use conditional logic to basically check if the type or if the segment of the customer is a tech enthusiast, a budget friendly, and so on. So we use the router to check conditional logic and accordingly send out hyper specific emails out based on who our customers might be, what their behavior was like. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. In this video, we're going to build out this entire automation for a customer support ticket router. The tools we're going to be using are Google Forms, ChatGPT, or Claude, or OpenRouter, your favorite AI model. Use Slack to notify team members via Slack channels, and we're going to use Airtable as our database, and we're going to tie this all together using make.com, the no-code automation tool. And you can use Make on the free plan, or inside our Skool community you get free access to Make's highest team annual plan. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So first we're going to set up our Google form. We're going to go to Google Forms, create a new form, support ticket submission, and we're going to add these questions with email, name, issue category, priority level, issue description, account type, and link this to an Excel sheet. So if I come in here, I've gone ahead and set up the form. So it's pretty simple and straightforward to do. You just add one question at a time. You would add name as a short answer text, issue category, priority level, account type, and issue description. We can go ahead and remove this. And once this is done, what you want to do is come into your Google form, click link to sheets, create new spreadsheet. And what that is going to do is create an entire new spreadsheet with all the information that comes through once we submit a form. Next up, we're going to set up our ticket database using Airtable. So we're going to create a new table called support tickets. So if I come into Airtable, you can just log in using, say, your Google account and use their free plan. If I come in here, I say build an app on your own. It's going to create this table by default, but what you can do, and for the new table we are creating, you can just copy all of these fields, okay, and come into Airtable and say create a table for me with these fields. Just paste that, hit enter, and let the AI do its thing. Yep, so it's gone ahead and created the tickets table. It has all of our fields: ticket ID, customer, email, name, category, AI category, priority, AI priority score, assigned team, status, description. Perfect. What we could do otherwise is, if the AI fails or you just wanted to do it manually, Airtable has a pretty user-friendly interface. You just come in here to add a new column. You can choose the type. You can choose single line text, long text, checkbox, multiple select, single select, and so on. Pretty straightforward and easy to do. And now that we have our Airtable set up, we will go ahead and delete the older table and come back to our instructions. And now we are going to set up our Slack. So to set up Slack, again, you can just sign in or sign up using your Google account. I had signed in with Google. So So once you're signed into Slack and you can use their free plan, inside there, what we are going to do is create these support channels. So I have one for billing, one general, one product, one technical, one urgent. And if you wanted, like, if you hadn't set these up before, you just click on add channel, create new channel, blank channel, click next, and enter um, a name. So say I was calling this support demo, I would create it, and you are good to go. That's all you need to do to create channels. So we're going to set up our Slack workspace. We're going to use the free plan, and we're just going to create channels for support tech, billing, general. So next up, we're going to add our Google Forms trigger, come in to make.com to create our automation. We're going to go to Google Forms, click watch responses, connect our account, choose the form. So if I come in here, it was demo for support ticket submission. We're going to set the limit to 1, hit save, click all, and save. So we've got our Google Forms module set up. Now we're going to add our AI to categorize the data. So next up, before we can set up our Claude module, we are just going to come into Google and quickly make sure we have published this form. Make sure that anyone with the link can view it. And we are going to copy this URL. So if I enter my name, the issue category, priority level, account type, and just a small description, and click submit. We just want to make sure the data is flowing correctly. So if I check my responses and if I view it in my Google Sheet, I can see the data has come through. So I can see the email address, name, issue category, priority level, account type, and issue description. And if I come back into my make scenario and run this automation, you can see that we've received one answer, and here we can see all of the values come through. And one important thing to remember when working with Google Forms and setting it up in Make is to always run it the first time so that you get access to this answers variable, or that contains all of your data that you actually need to extract, because without running it, this key in this JSON response basically does not show up. And that's why it's always good to first run the Google Forms module when creating a new automation in Make. Okay, so now that we have our Google Forms trigger set up, we are receiving data into our Excel sheet, into our Make automation. We're now going to add our Claude module for categorization and priority scoring. So if I come back into my automation, I add Claude, create a prompt, use my Claude connection. For the model, I'm going to choose the Haiku model. I'm going to set max tokens to 400. I'm going to add a new message. So we're going to give it the system or assistant prompt, as it's called here. So our assistant, we're going to give it this role. And basically what roles do are assign this to Claude and tell it, you are basically a support ticket categorization expert. You've got to analyze this ticket and provide categorization, priority scoring, and team assignment. You can always refine this prompt to give you the output that you're actually looking for. And we will look at that as we go through this tutorial. But yeah, that's all you need to do for now. Then we're going to set up a user prompt. So if I copy this across, I'm going to choose type text. And for the text, I'm going to paste this in. And here, if I come through, For the name, I'm going to use the answers, not the name, but inside name, text answers, answers, value. And similarly for the email, I'm going to choose the respondent email. Issue category, I'm going to come through issues, category, text answers, answers, value. Same for priority level. The account type, and the description. Okay, great. And then so then we ask the AI to provide only the AI category, priority score, assigned team, escalation needed, yes, no, and estimated resolution, how long it's likely going to take. So we save that, we save our automation, and now we can just quickly test this again. And now if I come into my Google form just to make sure everything is still working and we are getting the data as we need. If I check my Google Sheet, I can see the data has come through. And if I come back to my make automation and run this, I can see my Claude response. And inside my Claude response here in the output, you can see there's an AI category with billing. That's what we've predicted. The priority score is a 7. Assigned team is billing. Escalation needed, no. And estimated resolution is about 1 day. Perfect. So we've got our Google form set up. We've got our Claude that's predicting the data that comes through from our Google form. And now we're going to set up the automations to reroute these messages into our different Slack channels. So next we're going to pass our AI response, save the outputs into variables, and then we're going to save it in our Airtable database and reroute it to our Slack modules. So let's quickly come into our automation. We're going to add a text parser. We're going to use the match pattern, and inside the pattern we are going to do AI category first. The text is going to be the text response from the Claude model. We save that, and then we will add our next one for AI priority score. So similarly, I will choose text parser, match pattern, add the pattern. Case sensitive, you can leave no. Text is going to be the text response from Claude. Click save. Next, we have the assigned team. So come back in, new text parser, match pattern, input the pattern name, case sensitive, no. Text is the text response from the Claude model, hit save. And then the last one is escalation needed. We are going to add that in as well. Text parser, match pattern, enter the pattern, case sensitive, no. Text is going to be the output of the Claude model. Save, And now we're going to save all of this data in Airtable. So if we come back in, choose new module, find Airtable, create a record. So we're going to have to set up a connection to Airtable. This is standard and straightforward like we do for all our other modules. I've got mine set up, but if you click add, you can do it using Google, and then just the connection type is you can use OAuth or a token key. OAuth, you can basically just use your Google account to sign back in. Okay, so our base is, we hadn't named our base here, so let me quickly give that a name. Okay, so we've got that set up. If I come back in here and just refresh this list, there we see it, demo 4. So choose that. Which table? It's the tickets table. And now it's going to show us all the fields we have in there. So now we've just got to quickly map this across. So for the customer email, that's going to come from the Google form, the respondent email. The name is going to come from the Google form as well. So if we come into text answers, answers value, the category, this is what the user had entered. So we're going to choose that value. For the AI category, that's the prediction we made and then saved it into a variable. And here in these text parsers, because we have so many, we should ideally label it. So I'm going to quickly do that right now. So this text parser was for the AI category. So what I'm going to do is right click here or double click if you're on Mac, click rename, call this AI category. Then do the same for AI priority score. Save. Next up, we have the assigned team. Click rename module, assigned team, escalation needed. Escalation needed. Okay, perfect. So now if we come back into our Airtable while setting up our record for AI category, now it's so much easier for us to read. So for AI category, we're going to choose this, the assigned value. For priority, we're going to choose the priority that came from the form that the user input. So we're going to go into text answers, answers value. For the AI priority score, that's going to come from our assigned variable. The assigned team is going to come from our the assigned team is going to come from our variable that we set. The status we're going to set to new by default. And for the description, we are going to take what the user had entered in the Google form. And that's it. So we save our Airtable record. We will quickly test this out and see if it all works. So if I come into submit another response, say my name, and choose feature, medium, and a description. I'm going to quickly hit submit. We can see that our new row has been added. And if I come to our make automation and run this, so we can see we've got a new row. We can see Claude has analyzed it. We can see that the AI category that it's predicted is feature, what the priority score is, and all of this data. So now If we check our Airtable and we see the output here, we can see that it's added some data in. And just to verify that all of this data is correct, if we go across to Airtable, the first row we had was a dummy row, but so if we ignore that, you can see that our new data has come in. We see the email, the name, the category, AI category, priority score, all of it, and including the description. So perfect. Our data is coming through. We are saving it in Airtable, and now we're going to add the last part of using a router to accordingly decide whether to send this message in which channel inside our Slack. So now that we have all of our data being saved in Airtable, we have our data here. We've cross-checked and made sure that it's coming through here. We can probably remove this first row. And now we are going to accordingly route the support tickets to different Slack channels. So we're going to come in here, choose router, and from the router, we are first going to have the technical ticket. So now we're going to add our Slack modules. So if I come in here, choose Slack, click create a message. You can set up your connection the same way you normally do for all the other modules. Enter a channel ID or name. So we are going to select from the list. For this, we are going to choose public channel. So this was the technical route that we're going to use. So we're going to select public channel. We're going to choose the support technical channel. And for the text inside it, we are going to copy this message. We are going to come in here. So channel, we can remove this message, new technical ticket. The ticket ID we can copy from Airtable. The customer name and email, again, we can take these from Airtable itself. Name, email. The priority score is going to be the AI priority score that we got. The account type is going to come from, do we have it in our database? Okay, if we are not saving it, we could be saving it, but otherwise we can just take it from the Google form input. So that we will use the account type. The estimated resolution we have, where do we have that record? Okay, so we don't have an estimated resolution field, so we can just leave that out. For the issue, we're going to take the issue description. We can take it from our Google form, or we can take it from our Airtable record. And lastly, for our AI notes, if we wanted to, we can just use whatever Claude had given us as a text response and quickly come in and save that. We're going to set up this filter to make sure that this works as expected. So what we want to do is basically check if the assigned team, in this case, if it's technical, we will save that. Similarly, we are going to use this for our next category, which is billing. Save that. We're also going to need one more route for product and one for general. So let us set that up. So we're going to have one here for product. and another one for general. And now we're just going to copy the similar messages. This is for billing. Create a message for the channel ID, public channel. Here we are going to choose billing. For the text, we're going to choose similarly ticket ID, name, customer name, email, customer email, AI priority score, account type we are going to take from our form, under text answers value. We didn't have a resolution field we were saving. For the description, we're going to take that from, we can just do it from Airtable. And for our AI notes, we are going to take that from Cloud. Perfect. Save that. Save. Next up, yeah, pretty straightforward. You get the gist of it. We are going to repeat this quickly for the last two modules. So I'm going to come into Slack, create a message, channel ID, select from list, public channel. The channel name is going to be product here. For the text, we're going to paste this in. Similarly, replace the ticket ID, the name with customer name, the email with customer email. We're going to replace the AI priority score, the account type, which comes from our Google form, and estimated resolution we do not have. Our issue description, our issue description, and our AI notes are going to be our Claude response. Click save. And the last one for the general category, where we are going to create a message, enter, select from list, public channel. This is going to be general. Text is going to be, we will copy this across, replace the ticket ID with ID, name with the customer name, email with the customer email, AI priority score, account type is going to be here. We don't have a resolution. The issue we are going to take from a table description, and for our AI notes, we are going to choose the text response. Perfect. So we have this saved. Perfect. So now we have all of our Slack modules set up, each with the individual messages. We've set up the filters. And so now we would expect that for each support ticket that comes through, it also gets routed to the specific Slack channel. And here, this is just an additional challenge for you guys to try to implement, is add a filter router after the priority score. And so then if that value is greater than equal to 8, you can send a notification to a specific Slack channel saying that these are urgent tickets and need to be dealt with immediately. But that's just a side mission, if you will. If we come back to our make automation, save it, and now if we go back to our form, we will make another submission, choose bug, and submit this. We will check in Google Sheets that our message has come through. So we can see that here. Perfect. And now if we come in and run our automation, you can see we've received a new row. If we check the row data, here we will see that all of it is coming through. Yep. Inside Claude, here we get our text response with the category, score, assigned team, escalation, estimated resolution, all of that. We save this in Airtable. So if I look at the Airtable output, yep, we can see the ticket ID, customer email, name, category, all the data that we need. And here is our router. We will check that in Slack. And if I come across to Slack under before doing that, yep. So as we can see that this message was routed to the first channel, so our technical channel. So if we come into Slack and we go to technical, you can see that we have a new ticket that's come through. So it shows the AI notes. We could format this, but this is basically the Claude's response, the issue that the customer entered, and this is our entire message. And so now, by the end of this, you've seen how we had our Google form, we received the input, we used an AI to analyze it, make predictions, save that in variables, passed all of that data, and then saved it into our Airtable database. And then we used conditional logic using a router to redirect that message to the Slack channel. And this is how you can build a customer support ticket router all on your own using no-code automation tools like make.com and just connecting all of the softwares you would use in your personal life or in your business. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. Welcome to the final training video in this series, the Make Masterclass. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a content marketing machine, how to take a single blog post URL and convert that into a Twitter thread, LinkedIn post, and Instagram caption. And the apps we're going to be using are Google Forms, Claude, or ChatGPT, whichever one you prefer, Google Sheets as our content database, and Make.com, the no-code automation tool that binds these all together. You can sign up to Make.com completely free on their website, or you can also get access to their highest teams plan for free, which is worth over $300 inside our free Skool community. The link for that will be in the description of this video. And on that note, let's jump right in and start building this out. So starting with the step-by-step instructions, first we're going to come over to Google Forms and create a new form called Content Marketing Automation. So I've just set that up here. I've named it Demo 5 Content Marketing Automation. You need a simple input for the blog post URL. A target audience is going to be a multiple choice. Same for content tone, primary keywords, and a campaign name. So all of these instructions are here in this Skool community module, and we've added the fields. And next up, we are going to set up our content database. So inside our content database, here we just need a simple Google Sheet with all of these columns. I've copied them across again from our instructions manual. So we have a timestamp, campaign name, blog post URL, and so on till creation date. We have all of that here. And now we are going to start building out our automation. And now for the fun part where we start building out our automation. So if I come into make.com, create a new scenario, we are first going to add our Google Forms trigger. So if I come in here and choose Google Forms, watch responses, click on I have my demo 5 form. I'm going to set the limit to 1, save, save. So with Google Forms, you always want to make sure that it's working as expected and you submit a response, because what happens is when you're connecting subsequent modules, by default, you don't see the output formatted correctly. And I'll show you what this means in a bit. But basically, as a best practice, it's always good to run your Google Forms once just after setting it up. So if I come back in here and I select my blog post URL. So I'm going to choose this blog from Seth called Before We Learn a New Skill. It's a really nice one. Paste that in. Who's the target audience for this? So I'm going to put business owners. Content tone, I want it to be inspirational. Primary keywords is, say, new skill, learn, and say marketing. And for my campaign name, I'm just going to call this September 2025 blog AI. Okay. And so now if I submit it, okay, we can see our response has been submitted. If I come back into make.com, save this automation real quick and run it, you can see that we've got our output. We can see the response, the URL we entered here, sets blog. We can see the primary keywords. And one of the reasons I had mentioned, and one of the reasons I had mentioned to always run the Google Forms first is because if you connected a subsequent module, you wouldn't see this answers collection with all of these nested values in it. And that's why, like, as a best practice, so that you can connect the right values, it's good to run it once and see what the output looks like. So now that we have that set up, let's go back to our instructions. We've set up our Google Forms trigger. We're now going to make a request to the blog post URL and fetch all that data. So now that we have our Google Forms trigger set up, we are going to fetch our blog post data. To do that, we're going to come into make. We're going to add a new module, an HTTP request module. Yeah, make a request. In there for the URL, we are going to configure it to get the blog post URL. The method is going to be get. We're going to pass responses. And yeah, this will fetch the blog content, which we will then pass on to our AI models. So if I come in here for the URL, I want it to be blog post URL, text answers, and value. The method is going to be get, pass response yes, and save. Perfect. And now if we save this, come back to our automations, and now we can start creating our Twitter thread, our LinkedIn post, and our Instagram caption. So to create our Twitter thread, we are going to come back into make. We are going to choose our AI model. You can choose Claude or GPT, whichever you prefer. I think Claude is usually better for copywriting and text related tasks. So I'm going to come in here, set up my connection. You can add a new connection if you haven't done that before. I'm going to choose Haiku 3 for this, max tokens 1000. And now for the messages, if we come back in here, I'm going to choose my system message, quickly add that in to the assistant role. This basically tells Claude like what its role is. It assigns a role to the AI. So it says you are a Twitter content expert. Create engaging Twitter threads that break down blog content into digestible, shareable tweets. Follow Twitter best practices. Now, this is a very generic high-level prompt. The better your prompts are, the better the output you'll receive. Also, in this case, we've chosen the Haiku 3 model that's cheap and fast. But if you are using this in a production type system, you might experiment. You might experiment with different Claude models, different GPT models. 4 might be really good, like the Sonnet 4 is really good. Yeah, it's trial and error for you to figure out which one is the one that you like the most. So yeah, anyway, coming back to our example, we've got our system message set up, and now we are going to set up our user message. So if I come back into make, add a message, user role, add content, text, and paste this in. And now we will just plug in the variables. So instead of the blog post URL, we are going to take that from our Google Forms. For the target audience, we are going to take that in here. The content tone, plug that in. Primary keywords, and for our blog content, we're going to add our HTTP response data. So we have that. And now we are going to give it this prompt which says create a Twitter thread, starts with a hook tweet, breaks down key points, uses relevant hashtags, maintains the tone that we want to use. So if I come into content tone, yep, maintains tone throughout. And yeah, how we want it formatted. So tweet 1, content, tweet 2, tweet 3. So I'm going to quickly save this. I'm going to save our automation. And now if we try this again, so I'm going to copy this URL, say it's for business owners, maintain an inspirational tone, say marketing, new skill, learning, September 25, AI marketing, let's call it that. Submit it. And now if we come into our make automation, you will see that the form has run. It's made the HTTP request. And now currently Claude is working on its output. So if we see, yeah, our output here, we can see our answers, same like last time, text answers, and the value that we've gotten, the blog post. If we check our HTTP request module now, we can see the input, this URL parameter that was passed in. If we check our output and the data, this is the entire HTML website of the blog post. So yeah, this will be a long string basically. It's the entire website code. And now if we come into Claude, and we look at the input that we gave it. So there were 2 prompts. So this is the role we assigned to Claude. And then we gave it our prompt where we wanted it to use this blog post URL with these target parameters, the target audience, content tone, keywords, and then we've given it the entire blog content. And let's see what Claude produced. So if we look at the output, the text response here, beautiful. We can see tweet 1, before we learn a new skill, there are some important questions to consider. And so this is basically a hook tweet. And for our second tweet, we have, am I willing to be wrong about the fact that I'm a person who doesn't know how to do this yet? Can I handle feeling incompetent as I discover a new skill? And that's really kind of a big takeaway, right? Like for all of us learning something new, whether it's AI, whether it's content, whatever that may be, like that initial phase is always the hardest because we feel like we know so little. But like getting over that phase is ultimately what leads us to acquiring a new skill. And in this world of AI and automations, which are clearly going nowhere, and things you can use to improve your personal life or your business life, it really makes sense to like power through this phase, because on the other side of it, you get to acquire a skill set that you can use for the rest of your life. So anyway, coming back to our video, we can clearly see we have our entire tweet thread done, which looks beautiful. We are going to quit out of this and come back to our instructions. And next up, we are going to create our LinkedIn post. So similarly, we're just going to add another Claude module, create a prompt, choose the model, the Haiku 3. We're going to enter the max tokens as 500, or we can just do 1000. We're going to enter a system prompt under our messages assistant content. This is where we assign it a role, and we are going to add a subsequent message for the user prompt, which is basically what we want the AI to do. So a user prompt, content type text, add the text in, and then we will replace all of the variables. So the blog post URL we are going to get from here, the target audience in here, for content tone, primary keywords, and blog post data. Similarly, we're going to plug those values in. And for our blog content that we're going to get from our HTTP request module, and then we give it the prompt, create a LinkedIn post, opens with an engaging hook, provides valuable insights, uses professional language appropriate for target audience, includes relevant hashtags, ends with a discussion question, maintains content tone, and we're going to add that, but professional, and is approximately these many words. Format as a single post. Beautiful. So we've got our LinkedIn module set up. Similarly, we can do for Instagram. Okay, let's hop back in, add another Claude module, choose the same Haiku 3, max tokens 1000. We're going to assign it an assistant role, give it the prompt, and then give it the message, the user message, type text, and let me save this and see if I can copy the text content across. Okay, but we will need a different message. So let me come back in and change our text prompt to a blog post URL is going to come from our Google form input, the target audience, content tone, the keywords we're going to use, and our blog content is going to come from our HTTP request module. And we have this prompt. It says create an Instagram caption that starts with an attention grabbing first line, tells a story or shares insight, uses emojis strategically, and includes relevant hashtags, ends with call to action, is optimized for target audience, and maintains the content tone we want while also being Instagram friendly. Perfect. So we've got that all set up. And for our last step is we can add this content processing and formatting, but that's optional. We can see the output that we get from each AI node, and then we can save this to our content database. So if we come back into our Google Sheet where we had these simple columns set up, we go back to our instructions, we have all of that. And now we will add this to. So now I'm going to add a new module, a Google Sheets module, add a row. I'm going to choose my connection, which I have set up. If you haven't, you can easily set it up using your Google OAuth login. You just click add, and then it will take you to the Google login page. Search method, we're going to leave as is, my drive. Spreadsheet ID, we are going to choose demo 5. And sheet name is sheet 1. Table contains headers, yes. And now you can see all our columns have come through, our timestamp, campaign name, blog post URL, and so on. So now all we need to do is plug these values in. So for timestamp, we will go to create time or last submitted time. Let's just go last submitted time. For our campaign name, we're going to get that from our form. For our blog post URL, I'm going to put that in target audience, content tone, the keywords we want to use. These are all our Google form values. The Twitter thread, this is going to come from our first Claude response. So this text response. The LinkedIn post is going to come from the next Claude response. The Instagram caption from the following text response. And the content status, by default, we can set it to generated. So we're just going to copy that directly. And the creation date, we can just use a function which in I think this is how it works. And for the creation date, we can use a function. You can use this AI to say use the current date and time. And I think it will give you a function. So yeah, you can just use now and save this. And to add the creation date, if you wanted, you can either choose the create time or last submitted time from the Google form, or another way you can do it is you can click on this calendar tab and you can choose the now variable and you can save that. We will save our automation and let's give that a go. So now we're going to test and run our automation to see if it works as expected. We're going to come to the Google form, copy our blog post URL, enter our target audience, tone, keywords, and campaign name. And submit. So this form has been submitted. If we check our make automation and now run this, you can see that the Google form has run, the HTTP request has run, the first Claude module has just run, and beautiful. So actually we've seen an error now. We will debug this in a second, but this also forms a good segue into error handling that I briefly want to talk about. I will create a whole video on handling errors in the future, but as a good practice, what you can do is if you click in here, it shows you some error, rate limit error, and it says so and so. So firstly, make is showing you this suggestion which says steps to prevent this. Set a maximum runs to start per minute. Schedule scenario, set a limit on data records. These are all possible options. But before we actually solve the rate limit error, what we can do also is just click on this ignore all errors. And what that will do is it adds this module that says even if the workflow breaks, it will just ignore it and continue. Whereas otherwise, it may stop the entire workflow. If you add this error handler, as they are called, then it will continue with the workflow. And that's one way to handle errors. So let us try running that automation again and see if we run into the same rate limiting issues. Rate limiting is like a web API concept that basically says that you are only allowed to make, say, a certain number of requests per second or per minute to the resource that you are requesting. So now, like in this case, we are making requests to a Claude Anthropic server to get data back while messaging this model. So it probably exceeded the number of requests we were allowed to make per second or per minute. And so in that case, it gave us that error. So let's try running that again to see what happens. So we are still getting the error. So if I check in here as to what our error was, it says rate limit error, maximum usage for input tokens per minute. Please scale up your input tokens usage to stay within the acceleration limit. Okay, got it. So basically what this was saying was because we entered this max tokens parameter here as 1000, it was giving us an error. Let's make that, say, 5000 and save it. And let's see if that works. So, and we might as well just increase the last max tokens as well to 5000. Save that and run this. So, okay, we would need to make a new submission to the form. This is also another interesting concept while dealing with errors. So, because now in the newer scenario, we added the error handler, that iteration or that execution was still considered like completed. Whereas in the previous case, before we added the error handler, it wasn't considered completed. So even when we reran it, it still ran, assuming there was a new form input to be processed, if that makes sense. And now that we've added our error handler, as well as increase the max tokens to 5000 for these nodes, we will come in and run our automation again. So we will submit another form. I will copy the blog post URL. Business owners, inspirational learning, and we will submit this. And if we come into our make automation and click run once, you can see the form inputs come through. It fetched the blog post, generated one of these, and we still ran into the error handler. So max tokens 5,000, which is for Claude 3 Haiku. Okay, so now we're getting a new error, and welcome to the world of automations and debugging them. So basically, we're not allowed to enter more than 4096. So let's try and enter a new value for the max input tokens. So we will enter 4,000 and click save. Okay, and we will save this, enter another input, paste our URL in, enter our campaign name, and submit. And if we come into our make integration, I just realized we also need to update these max tokens. So we will do that. And now update the max tokens here. Save this automation, run. And now we see the forms come in, the data is extracted from the blog post. The first modules run, the second ran, but this time, so we still get an error regarding usage input rate, input tokens per minute. So I think this might be an issue with the model and the limit of the model. So I'm going to change this model from Haiku 3 to say Sonnet 4. I'm going to leave that as 4,000. Change this as well to Sonnet 4. Save that. And change this model as well to Sonnet 4. Save, and we will save our automation and run this once again. Okay, we need to make a new form submission. So I'm going to come and paste the blog post URL for the So we need to make another form submission. I'm going to paste the blog post URL, the target audience, the content tone, the primary keywords, and the campaign name, and then submit. And now come back to our automation, run it. And now we can see the data has come through. The first Claude model is running. And as you can see, firstly, so now that we've switched to the Sonnet 4 model, which is a more advanced model, it takes longer to run. It will also give you better output. And would you believe it? We still have errors in this automation. So they say this request would exceed the rate limit for your organization, 30,000 input tokens per minute. Okay, let's see what our input is. Okay, so the issue is that the blog post is so huge, right? As you can see. So the input tokens, when we pass it to the model, which we did in this Anthropic model, then we're passing it again in here, and then we would be passing it in again for this third model. Each time, that's like a really big input for Claude to process. So that's why it's throwing these errors. And so now we will have to think of a way to fix this or find a workaround around this. So despite adding the error handler, we were still running into the input token issue. And that was basically because we were repeatedly passing the entire blog post, which was a huge piece of text, into each model. And that was exceeding our rate limit of input tokens that we were allowed. So as a solution, which is now you have to like think outside the box as to how do we do it, which is basically what all thinking about practical solutions for automations are. And if you're ever stuck, you can always come into Claude or GPT and give it the problem that you are facing, whether it's error handling or like logical issues. So like here, I've attached a screenshot of our workflow, and I've given Claude this prompt that says, this is my make automation for generating a social media engine. I have 3 Anthropic Claude nodes that receive the past blog post data. And because each of the Claude nodes receive a large input, I get an error that I'm exceeding the max tokens I'm allowed. If anything, like you can also just copy paste the error that you're getting directly into Claude and then just ask it, can you help me come up with a solution that allows me to generate 3 separate pieces of content for Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, which were originally my 3 separate Claude nodes. So it gave me the first solution wherein I pre-process and summarize the content. So basically we add a new node to take all the past HTML data and save it, and then use that summary to for all the subsequent nodes. That's one solution. And then the second was to split content strategically, wherein it says extract different sections for each platform and use makes text parser. And a third was sequential processing. So we use the first Claude node to extract some key insights as well, and then pass those insights on to the second node, and the second output to the third. And another solution was to possibly use make.com's iterator and aggregator to split the content into chunks. But the recommended implementation is just solution one, as it's most efficient and simple, and usually the simplest solutions work best. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to take this and give this to Claude. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back into our automation. So here after our HTTP node, we can add this Claude node. We can add the Claude node. We can still use the Haiku model, set the max tokens to 2000. What we can do here is create an assistant role with a message and a separate user role with a message. I think that's one thing that works. Or like we can just have one message. Let's try this out based on Claude's suggestion. So, I mean, in general, I always lean more towards having a separate assistant or system role and a separate user prompt. But yeah, we will see how this goes. So we just say analyze this blog post and extract the essential information. We replace this with our blog post data, and we keep the summary under, say, 1,000 words. Okay, so save that. Then in our Twitter GPT, if you had this set to the Sonnet model, we can change this back to Haiku just so that it's faster. Save these. Same for the LinkedIn. We can change this back to the Haiku model just so that it runs faster. And same for the Instagram, so that it runs faster. We change this back to Haiku. And I just realized that we also need to replace this blog content with the output from our AI summary module, the text response there, and then hit save. Similarly for the LinkedIn, GPT. We need to replace the blog data with the AI summary text response and hit save. And for the Twitter GPT, for the blog content, we will set it to the AI summaries text response and hit save. Okay, so this is one possible solution. We will see what output it gives us. And this is it with automations, right? You have multiple possible solutions that could work. You've just got to see which solution or iteration gives you the best output. And yeah, so we will check the output now. And now that we've made changes to our automation, so just a quick recap of what we've done. We added an error handler. We changed these nodes to use the input from the AI summary node rather than using the blog post content, which was too large because that was exceeding our max token input that we were allowed to give Claude. And so now we are going to see how this works. So if we come back into our form, submit another response, if we copy this blog post URL, target audience, tone, and submit. Now if we come into our automation and click run once, we get yet another error. So what is our error? Invalid collection in parameter content. So if we check I think this is turning into a masterclass on error handling, which we can now just copy this error into Claude or into your favorite GPT, saying I get this error while building my make.com automation with the summary node. Can you tell me why that is and how can I fix it? Okay, so it's saying that we are passing probably a nested JSON structure and we are probably giving it the wrong input. So if we look at our HTTP module and if we look at the output of it, so in our output data, we actually have this entire string, which is the entire website content. And so like we kept running into this issue, which after me debugging for a bit happened because I think we had this map toggled as on. So I've turned that off, which I've now indicated that the type was going to be text. I've entered the prompt. I've said keep the summary under 1,000 words. We have our model set, max token set. We are going to save this and run it. And yep, now our summary model is running. Twitter GPT is running. Now you can see our LinkedIn GPT is running, our Instagram GPT is running, and our Google Sheets has run. Great. So let's look at what the output is. So here in our HTTP parser where we were processing the blog post, that's still the same. It's this really long string of basically the website data. Inside our AI summary for the output of this node, we will see that the content that it has is it's given us a main topic or theme, the key takeaways or points, the target audience, tone, style, compelling statistics, call to action, suggestion. So now if we come into our Twitter GPT and see what the output of this node looks like. So the output in the content, or even if we check the text response, is tweet 1. Before learning a new skill, there's crucial pre-work to do. The blog challenges us to shift our mindset and embrace the journey. And tweet 2, are you willing to feel incompetent as you learn? Embracing the discomfort is key to unlocking new abilities. Adopting a growth mindset is half the battle. So as you can see, we've got a pretty good baseline for 5 tweets in here. And if we come into our LinkedIn GPT, the output of this node is going to give us, if we check the text response, so before we learn a new skill, or are you ready to upskill? As business owners, we are always looking for ways to stay ahead of the curve and adapt to new challenges. But before we dive into learning a new skill, whether it's AI, digital marketing, or anything else, we need to do some inner work first. Seth Godin's latest blog post highlights the critical mindset shifts required to truly learn and master a new competency. And if we can see, yeah, this is a pretty good LinkedIn post. And so before you sign up for that course or download the latest marketing software, take a moment to reflect. What new skill are you eager to develop, and how can you prepare your mindset ahead for and how can you prepare your mindset for the journey ahead? So this is our LinkedIn post. Obviously, the outputs of these are based on the inputs you provide. So the better the prompts that you give, um, refer to, we have a training on how to prompt better using the Clear framework inside our Skool community, but it basically involves, which states that prompts should be concise and clear. They should be logical in structure. They should be explicit about desired inputs and outputs. So you should give it examples of what good outputs look like, and even better, what bad outputs look like. The A stands for adaptive, to changing results, and R is reflective, to evaluate accuracy. And so if we come back in to our Instagram GPT and we check the output of this node, you can see we have ever feel like you're not ready to learn a new skill. This is Seth dives into essential mindset shifts before we must make before upskilling. And it's all about willing to feel incompetent, recover from failures, and embrace the imposter phase. So that's it. And then we have our Google Sheets, wherein we have this output. We've updated our table sheet and with the rows. So if I come in here, I can see my entire row being added. So it has the campaign name, the blog post, the target audience, content tone, keywords, the entire Twitter thread, the LinkedIn post here, the Instagram caption, the content status, and the created date. So that's it for this video. We clearly, I meant to get into error handling at some point. This video, I think, was a great starter on error handling, how to go about it. You're bound to run into errors while building automations out. The key is to not panic, just calmly take a screenshot, paste it into Claude, or copy paste the text into Claude or your favorite chat GPT. Ask it for solutions, try and implement those, see if it works. It's constantly about adapting your automations to get the highest quality output. So in this case, like, we fix the errors. In some cases, like experimenting with different models might give you better outputs. Experimenting with different prompts, so you can take these prompts. These were just dummy prompts to mainly show you how to build the automations. To further improve on the quality, you can take these prompts and give it to Claude and say, like, this is a prompt I'm using to generate a Twitter thread. How can I improve it? And even better, how can I improve it using the Clear framework? And then it will give you a way better prompt. You can use that to increase the output, increase the quality of the output of all of these nodes. And yeah, that is a trial and error process, which is something you've got to experiment with. And yeah, but this shows you the foundation of how you can build a content engine. And if you got this right, like, it could save you hours of work, having to do research and actually writing out your Twitter content, LinkedIn content, and Instagram's content separately. And even if it doesn't, it still gives you a very solid baseline for what you can use. And that's immensely powerful. So we learned how to take our Google Forms, use a blog post link, scrape that website, get all the website data, summarize it using Claude, then generate all our content. We even learned about error handlers and how to use the ignore error handler so that our automation does not break and it continues to execute. And then we finally save that into our makeshift database, which was Google Sheets in this case. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.